And welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul Farrington joined alongside Robert Ziggy Ziegler, executive producer Zack Blomquist with his own camera there. Take a look at that. His own fresh camera, the GH4, the Lumix. He looks pretty crisp. He looks pretty crisp right there. Remember, please like, comment, subscribe. We could use every subscriber. We could use every like. We can use every single comment. We're trying to grow the channel day by day, so every little bit helps. The NCAA tournament starts in a couple days. Ziggy's UVA Cavaliers, they're getting ready to battle Furman. Ziggy's been preaching a Furman win for 24 hours now, so we'll see what happens there. We'll have some more coverage of the NCAA tournament next week. We'll be joined by Kevin Walsh on Sports Grid, another former co-worker of Jack's. He'll be joining us. That'll be a lot of fun. So, yeah, with the tournament right around the corner, though, the NFL still finds a way to make headlines, as it always does. Briefly, and just very briefly, I'll touch on this. Aaron Rodgers, it was reported for a moment, it looked like he was a New York Jet. Trey Wingo saying that the deal is done, but we'll wait. Even with Jets players reacting, saying, I think Garrett Wilson was the one coming out saying, I can finally breathe now, enjoy my vacation. Nothing is done officially. But
the Jets players don't have any inside information. They're just reacting to Twitter like the rest of us.
So we'll see, though. It looks good for Aaron Rodgers being a Jet. Andrew is pretty pessimistic about it. He says nothing good can happen to this franchise, but we'll see. I kind of like it.
I just want to say, Paul, if Aaron Rodgers, clearly he's playing some games here, because if he wanted to, the reports said the compensation's ready. They're just waiting on his word. And Andrew then texts the group chat like, oh, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, he just wants to be the last piece of news. How long do you think it's going to be until Jets fans get absolutely sick of this act?
Well, Ziggy, I don't know what's going on, but Zach is reacting to something.
We do have a quick breaking. And this is a very interesting one that we'll get to because we're going to talk Carr. But Jameis Winston staying with the Saints.
Jameis Winston with the Saints. Okay, you had me for a second. As we're talking Rodgers, Zach's eyes are just bugging out. I thought for a second we were getting Aaron Rodgers' live reaction to the Jets.
There's some clickbait right there, right? Like, as we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, Zach's eyes.
Well, Ziggy, we call Zack Blomquist, as you see it in the chat every single day. Zach just breaks news. And today was one of those days where it's just ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. My phone was buzzing all day with Zach breaking down different deals, different signings. So Blomquist, for a moment, looked like he had a Blomp bomb, as we call it now.
Look, it was a Blomp bomb for me. I thought Jameis was out of the Saints.
Who wants?
I don't know who wants him. At this point, he's just a backup.
I guess who wants him, but I thought there was some bad blood between him and the Saints after he lost his job. He's like, I thought my job was safe and all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
the Saints asked Jameis Winston to take a big pay cut, so I guess he did.
Yeah, it must.
It's 1 year, $8 million. That's what he's getting.
All right, that's your Mike White contract.
His previous deal was, I think, 2 years with $15 million left each year, so it's an enormous pay cut.
But it makes sense for New Orleans to do it, though. You can't pay him that much.
Yeah. So much for the laser eye surgery there.
All right, why don't we start today? We'll hit a bunch of things. We're gonna hit the Bears-Panthers trade. We'll touch on Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson. Ziggy with a big shift in his opinion of Anthony Richardson, which we really haven't heard a ton about yet. We've just seen it in text messages. We'll also talk Jalen Ramsey and a little bit about Derek Carr and Geno Smith. But let's start with Jimmy Garoppolo. He signs a 3-year, $72.75 million contract with the Las Vegas Raiders, reuniting him with Josh McDaniels. So they were together for 3 or 4 seasons in New England, won 2 Super Bowls together. Jimmy G, he reached 3 NFC championship games with the 49ers, 1 Super Bowl. I think a lot of people forget just how successful his run was. Even though they didn't get the job done and win the Lombardi, he did have as good a run in San Francisco as you could really hope for a quarterback of his talent, and 2, really anyone in the league. 3 NFC championship games every single year the Vikings go there. It's a memorable season for me. So a great run, but I'm curious about your guys' opinions. I just want to share what I'm thinking first. With Garoppolo there, I don't think that this makes the Raiders much of a contender at all. I think he's similar to Derek Carr in many ways in terms of where I'd rank him in the league, maybe a little bit worse. But if this team is going to be competing with Mahomes and you're going to have Justin Herbert, I think there's going to be some progression for Russell Wilson now with Sean Payton. This still seems like a last place team to me, maybe third place in the AFC West. and 6 or 7 wins, bringing in Jimmy G, that's probably what you're going to end up with. I see Vegas. I think that they're interested in trading up for a quarterback. I'm not sure who it's going to be because there's a lot of quarterback needy teams already ahead of them. So what a package would look like for them to go up, I'm not sure. Just bringing in Jimmy G right now, I don't think that that's a move saying we're trying to win now. It feels more like a bridge quarterback. Would you agree with that, Ziggy?
Yeah, in 2022, I thought that the Raiders were going to just take a 1-year run with the guys they had left and then enter a big rebuild. And instead, right, you saw them trade for Devontae Adams and sign him to a big deal. You saw them give big extensions to a lot of their guys. You saw them restructure some deals. And it was a total failure. So now I think they've realized this isn't going to work. There's nothing that they can do with this roster. And Jimmy Garoppolo is just a stopgap to keep the fans happy. You look at the actual deal and what's fully guaranteed, we're looking at something like $34 million, which is basically just what he's getting paid this year. So they can cut him next offseason if they really want. I fully expect the Raiders to try and make a play at some quarterback, either in the draft or, God forbid, enter the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes, which I highly doubt. But it's either that or go full rebuild. I just don't see a way forward with Jimmy Garoppolo, which is why, even though I understand the signing, and, it's nice there aren't any big-time incentives or anything like that, this team is just a mess.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about Lamar Jackson. That's an interesting rumor you could throw out there.
I do have a little Devontae Adams quote from today.
Please.
That we're not really sure what it means or whether he likes Jimmy G after this or not. He did come out and say, if we haven't talked in the last 3 weeks, don't hit me up about this. Thanks.
Interesting.
So take that as you will, whether it's good or bad. But that's what he came out on Instagram and said.
Yeah, I mean, think about who's actually on this team, right? There's only 2 players they could actually trade, Max Crosby and Devontae Adams. And that winds up with about who's really good on the team. Right? Josh Jacobs is all right. But otherwise,
come on. I mean, he was the leading rusher in the NFL. He had a great season.
Yeah, I just mean there's not a lot of value to Josh Jacobs in the trade market. So they basically have no point but to go into it. So I don't know. As I sit back and look at the team that's been the worst drafting in the NFL in 5 years, you can see how wasteful they've been with their picks. It's very hard.
They're horrible. Every single year they're bad with their picks. I look at it too, and I see if you don't bring in Jimmy Garoppolo, who knows who's playing quarterback in Vegas next season? Because Jarrett Stidham's gone, Carr is gone. You could be like if you had a horrible season in Vegas, you would be in the running for Caleb Williams or Drake May. So you never want to hope that you're going to be the number 1 or 2 pick in the draft. You never want to be in that position where you're basically competing for a top draft pick. But bringing in Jimmy G, again, to me, it seems like, okay, he'll be the stopgap. They probably had their eye on someone. We know that the reason they didn't go ahead and get that pick from the Bears is because they didn't have a DJ Moore piece like Carolina did to offer Chicago, who was looking for a number 1 receiver. So I like them to go up in the draft. I really do see Anthony Richardson being a guy who I can picture in Las Vegas. That just has the makings of a Vegas meltdown to me. But I'm not sure who they'd have their eyes on. I just do expect them to go forward and make a move on draft day because they're always interesting during the draft, like you said, Ziggy.
Just to be clear, though, if they really wanted to start a rebuild, they had a piece that was a little bit better than DJ Moore to offer.
Well, yes, no, they did, but that I don't think they were never going to be willing to do that.
No, you want to hear something crazy? You know what percentage of players they've drafted since 2020? That's just 2 seasons ago. Are still on the team?
Oh man, I'm guessing that they maybe have
NFL average is 73%.
Oh, 14%?
No, 73% of just players they've drafted. All of them.
All of them? I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
What percentage of players do you think that the Raiders have drafted since 2020? Every player they've drafted is still with the team. And NFL average 73%.
Oh, I know. I think it's like 14%.
No, it's 55.
I know.
But no other team is below 60. No one
crazy.
stays on this team. Imagine half their draft picks. They've actually just lit on fire since 2020. A lot of those first rounders.
Yeah, no, the first rounders. I mean, there's various different circumstances with their first rounders, what's going on with them. But yeah, no, most of them still aren't on the team, like you said. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But my guess right now is they make a trade on draft day to go up and get a quarterback. Who that will be, we're not sure. Someone we do know who will be picking now at the number 1 overall pick are the Carolina Panthers. They go ahead and they move the number 9 overall pick, number 61, which is their second round pick this year, a 2024 first, a 2025 second, and DJ Moore on top of that to get the number 1 pick from the Chicago Bears. I think that this was a great move from Ryan Poles. He's so far impressed me as GM. I think he's making the right calls. I know that you're a little shaky, Ziggy, on some of the acquisitions he's made, but I look at the Bears at the moment and I say this team is loaded with draft picks now. You got a young, explosive quarterback. You finally got him a good weapon. DJ Moore might not be a top 10 receiver in the league, but you're probably looking at someone top 15 to top 20, probably in that 15 to 20 range, I would say. And you give Justin Fields that weapon. So I like where the Bears are at. I do think that their future and the Lions' future are brighter at the moment than the Vikings and Packers in the NFC North. As tough as it is to say as a Vikings fan, I just think that these teams both have better pieces going forward.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent trade for the Bears. I mean, you know me, I'm all about the numbers. DJ Moore is a quality receiver on a very affordable deal. We're not talking like one of those $30 million a year deals that Devontae Adams signs, like the $20 million a year Kirk signed. There's $52 million left over 3 years, and only this year's guaranteed. So they can let him go whenever they want. I mean, look, it's Moore just wasn't valuable to Carolina. Carolina had to move up, and I think they're very happy to only be giving up 2 first-rounders to do it. But if you're the Bears, you're adding a lot of premium cost-controlled talent without moving out too far, right? The best offensive tackles will be there. There'll still be great defensive linemen there. I think this is the kind of trade where it makes sense for both sides to do it, but the Panthers really have to hit on a quarterback.
And I think that the report that came out said that Carolina wasn't certain on who they wanted to take with the number 1 pick, that they're just sitting there right now. They probably have an idea, but there's no guy in this draft that you say, there's no Trevor Lawrence, there's no Caleb Williams who you say, this guy's going to be the face of the franchise for the next 10 years. So I'm not sure. I think that there's reason to doubt trading that much for a pick you're uncertain about, right?
People say that, right? But go back and I think particularly about the 2017 draft. This was another draft where people were like, oh, there's no clear face of the franchise. We don't know if any of these quarterbacks are going to look and be any good. And then early on in the first round, you get Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
Hey, but don't forget, what happened to pick 3? Who was the first quarterback taken? What happened there?
It was pick 2.
Pick 2, I'm sorry. What happened to pick 2?
No, but I mean, you have to hit, right? That's not true. But the point is just like in basically every draft.
Sure.
It's extremely rare that a draft goes by that there's not a star quarterback. And you can't get these guys, barring the unusual Lamar Jackson situation. But if guys like Burrow and Allen and Mahomes, they were never leaving the team that drafted them. There was no chance those teams are letting those players walk. So this is your only chance. You got to take it at a certain point and just trust in your guys and quarterback whisperer Frank Reich to hit.
Yeah, my guess is that even though it might come out, the report might be that they don't have a guy dead set on. Yeah. Really, no. I think the Colts like Bryce Young. That's the vibe that I'm getting. But other than that, I don't really think you can say that one team is attached to any player in this draft. So having that first selection and getting your pick of the litter, for them, obviously that means a lot. It's just that is a hefty price to pay to go all the way up, and you better hit on it. So why don't we, Zach, it looks like you have something.
A question, though.
Sure.
Why not trade back the Panthers? Get a lot more draft capital for next year. Because it seems next year's quarterback situation seems to be the
So wait, I'm sorry, you're saying if you're the Bears?
No. If you're Carolina, right? You got this first pick now, right?
Oh, what, you want to trade back now?
And then you trade back. Now, I know it seems stupid, but you get a couple picks for next year's draft. And I'm sure you'll get a couple first rounds, right? And this year you go and you kind of get pieces that will help your next year's quarterback.
Zach's acting like it's draft day, Ziggy, the movie. Remember with Kevin Costner trading picks all over the place?
It just seems
Zach's
like
strategy.
For me, in general, right? The Panthers are like, there is nobody on that team. So now you pick your rookie quarterback, right? What are you gonna play him and let him get lit up for?
I mean, yeah,
2 years.
That's what you're gonna do next year. Next year, I know that it's Caleb Williams and Drake May next year, but what are you hoping to get back?
Well, at least you get some offensive linemen, something that can help this guy at least.
This is an absurd take.
It could be an absurd take, but like, think about it. You're gonna let.
Well, what do you want? You already gave up. So you go up to 1 now, okay?
Right, but then,
let's say 1 and 9 are a wash. You've given up a second rounder, next year's first, and 2025 second.
Right. So, but you take a quarterback this year, right?
Sure.
Who's he got?
No, he's got no one.
Oh, he's got no one, right?
It's a complete rebuild.
So you're wasting basically a pick on.
Well, you're not wasting a pick. You're investing in someone that you think is going to be good.
In what? 4? You got to wait 4 years for him to finally be.
Maybe 2 years. What are you talking about?
I'm thinking in the long term, like a rebuild takes a good.
Yes. All right. So you're the Carolina Panthers.
The Dolphins are perfect. I'm a big Dolphins fan, obviously, by here, but it's a perfect situation. We got Tua when we get Tua. What draft was that? He's on his 5th year, right? He'll be so 5. It's taken us 5 years. Right? Yeah, it's taken us 5 years almost to make the team we've had. So if you're the Carolina Panthers, just I'm trying to understand your mindset on this. If you're the Carolina Panthers, you have the first pick. Right.
What do you want in return for that pick?
Oh, I'm taking a couple firsts for next year's draft. Definitely.
But who's giving that?
So I'm sure somebody's out there is willing to trade up.
Let's say
like you got the Colts.
Let's pretend the Raiders. All right, we're talking about the Raiders. The Raiders are at 7.
Right. Yeah, let's say if the Raiders didn't. Let's say they didn't take Jimmy G.
Sure.
And they needed like they're a team that could build around somebody because they have some dynamic pieces already around them.
Okay, sure. So the Raiders trade up to 7. What do you want from the Raiders?
At least 2 first, right? I want at least 2 first.
So you want a first this year?
I want a first this year.
A first next year.
And a first next year. And if I can get another second.
But that's exactly what you just traded.
But no, here's the thing. We know why they made this trade. It's because David Tepper is tired of not winning playoff games. You know when the last time the Panthers won a playoff game is?
16, 17?
2015.
2015?
Yeah, it was like the year was 2016, right? It was like that last ride in 2015 where they beat the Seahawks and Cardinals and then lost to the Broncos.
Yeah. And they crushed the Cardinals. That game was oof.
Yeah, no, that was But I mean, look, you haven't had a quarterback in ages. You've been going with misfits this whole time. And the fact is, it's very likely one of these guys is going to be good. The rumor is Tepper loves Bryce Young and that Frank Reich loves CJ Stroud.
I think it's going to go Stroud.
In any case, though, moving back and saying, don't worry, we'll just get the guys next year. You have no idea what quarterbacks are going to look like next year, right? Remember when everyone was ready to anoint Spencer Rattler number 1 overall?
Yeah.
So you don't know what these guys are going to look like.
And DJ Uiagalelei.
Yeah, right? Guys who look like they're going to be absolute stars sometimes fall apart.
I'll tell you, Caleb Williams is going to be a star.
No, I think that's true. But my point is just anything can happen. He could rupture his Achilles.
Yep.
There
right.
could be any sort of injury. So looking to the future in that way is bad. But second, let's say you trade back. Don't give your quarterback a chance to sit in the room for a couple years. You're dooming yourself to not win a playoff game for another 3 or 4 years. And at a certain point, franchises have to go to win. So it's not like the Panthers, because they don't have their first rounder and not getting it back. It's not like they can just suck next year, sit in that top 3 spot. And then
Zach's a dreamer, though. Zach's a dreamer.
I realize now what I would do is, and this is why it sounded like
I have no idea what to expect coming out of your mouth right now. I have no idea.
So you trade back, right? You get you get a first round again. And then you trade back again, right? Because again,
so it's a video game to you right now.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what the Dolphins did. Again, what we did, we traded from the 5th, then we moved to the 7th.
So you want to go
and then we got to the 12th, and we had 3 first rounds. I think that's what they should do.
So you want to go like 1 to 4 with the Colts, have the Colts jump up and take someone in front of the Texans. Then you want to go back again.
And I'm sure one of the bigger name teams that are in the 2015, 15 to 20. Might move up to.
No. Zach, I'll tell you why this is dumb.
Right, you agree that Ziggy.
You agree that Caleb Williams is an absolute prize, right? Any team that can get him is going to be willing to give up a lot for him.
Yeah.
So in what makes you think that the worst team in the NFL next year, because it's very unlikely to be the team you're getting the pick from, what makes you think that team is going to want to give you Caleb Williams? for any price that you can offer.
Hope.
There's
Zach,
just-
I'll say I think that was an utterly insane conversation, but I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you go through that. That's what the NFL offseason's about. We had
look,
one
they
comment.
could get it from the Colts, so the Colts could absolutely blow next year.
If you're the GM of my team, all I know is there will be fireworks on draft night.
If he's the GM of my team, I am firing him and taking control to someone who understands how to draft.
Did you
works.
see one of the comments we had on Andrew's Caleb Williams take came in and it said, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, but it just shows how powerful the NFL draft can be, and I love it." And that's exactly true. When you get around this time of year, people start conjuring up all these different scenarios, and it's fun. It's a good time.
I mean, look at again. I always go back to the Dolphins. Look what we conjured up: 3 first-round picks, Tyreek Hill, Teron Armstead, Bradley Chubb.
No,
how many playoff wins did that conjure up?
So far, we've only had him for less than we've had Bradley Chubb less than a year, and we've had Tyreek and Armstead for a year.
And Jalen less than what, 2 days?
Yeah. And we've had two for about 6 months in reality.
Oh man!
Don't worry, Mike. Next year,
don't worry. He's taking judo. He's taking judo. He's learning how to fall.
Oh man!
No more concussions next year. I promise.
If you were tired of hearing from Andrew how Mike White is going to carry the team to the playoffs behind the injured quarterback with all the weapons around him, wait until you hear Zach with Tua next year.
Oh jeez!
I'm going to be
Tua's
loaded.
gone, but Mike White's going to step in, win like one game, and then suck. This is the path of the Dolphins.
Hey, maybe it's the one game we need to get into the playoffs.
I'd like to talk a little bit about Stroud, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson in a second. But first, Ziggy, I'll give you the floor because I know that you wanted to talk about the Bears here and what they're doing so far with their start to free agency. A lot of people are applauding them, but right now you're not quite at that level.
So admittedly, I'm usually pretty bearish about free agency signings, but I thought that Poles had the right idea. Look, we got one. Year. We're going to trade back, get a premium player at a premium position in DJ Moore, and then use all these picks and stack up on like the lines on the positions that really matter. And he said as much, right? He said, look, when I'm the GM of the Bears, we're going to be spending premium money in free agency, sure, but it's going to be on premium positions. And then what does he go out and do? He signs 2 inside off the ball linebackers and a right guard. A right guard, notably, who's well known for his run protection and struggles in pass protection. So it really frustrates me to see this. Mm-hmm. I think that NFL GMs need to be spending a lot more money on positions where impact, like left tackle, like quarterback, like cornerback, like edge rusher, where the stars can really make a difference, and not on volume positions like inside linebacker and right guard.
Okay, so you're upset more so with where the Bears have looked in free agency thus far, because they have a ton of cap space, and what they get? Tremaine Edmonds today. Nate Davis was the offensive lineman we were talking about.
Yeah,
third ranked guard, but struggles in pass protection.
And then TJ Edwards, the other linebacker, that was a more reasonable deal. But giving Tremaine Edmonds is now he's making more money than any other inside linebacker in the NFL. And for what? He got 1 sack and 1 interception last year. And people look and say, "Oh, well,
this is a classic Ziggy. This is a classic Ziggy hating inside linebackers moment right here."
Ziggy hates linebackers. That's all it is. He just hates
Do you remember?
Players.
You will remember when Roquan Smith got traded.
How could I
said
this?
The following thing, and I got eviscerated for it. I said that tackles are a volume stat. It's just about whatever position.
Well,
you play.
I'm sorry. I think he got lit up.
Tackles.
I think he got lit up because you said, I believe this is the quote: "Tackles don't matter."
in the following sense, like associating tackles as a stat that matters for a player is irrelevant because it's just a volume stat.
Yeah, you clarified it. It was just funny when you go, well, look, guys, I just don't think tackles matter. And Andrew's
tackles
like,
don't
what?
matter.
Okay,
so when Roquan got replaced, they put an undrafted free agent to replace him, and he was like a third of a tackle per game less than Roquan Smith.
Okay.
Who's allegedly like this league-leading inside linebacker worth $20 million a year. Yep. The only stat he's good for is replaceable. So why are we spending all this money on Tremaine Edmonds, giving him $50 million guaranteed? I have no idea.
Stopper.
It's a lot. Tremaine Edmonds is a great player, but I understand where you're coming from in that there are more important positions on the field. But Tremaine Edmonds, he's a baller, and that offensive line, it's been so bad. I don't know too much about Nate Davis. I'll be frank with that. But I look at the grades he gets, and it looks okay from PFF and everything there. I do question when you say that he's not very good as a pass blocker. Like Kirk Cousins, I've watched with the Vikings for years. We have a lot of these guys come in on our line who are very good run blockers and just get destroyed on the pass rush. And then that, even if you wind up being a highly rated offensive lineman, if you can't pass block, that's the whole problem with the Bears, is that Justin Fields runs for his life. So, yeah, that could be a problem.
This is why he's being replaced by Andre Dillard on basically an identical deal. It's because Vrabel can't stand this guy because he's no good in pass protection.
And that just sounds like the guards the Vikings have had year after year who come in and can't pass block. Luckily, Fields can run. Cousins can't. But the whole point of this offseason is supposed to be helping Fields get to a point where he can succeed as a passer.
So we've seen it time and time again on the Titans, right? Like, oh, we're just going to get an elite run blocking offensive line and run the offense through Derek Henry, and it's all going to be great. You can't win a Super Bowl that way. You've got to have a superstar quarterback with elite weapons.
Now, to be fair as well, the Bears are, I believe, the number one rushing team in football, but that should also show you something about
where were they picking this year?
Yeah, that should show you the effectiveness of being the number one rushing team right now in a passing league. You got to throw the ball. So we'll see. Well, Nate Davis could be someone that we keep an eye on. Maybe we'll give him more attention than anyone else doing sports media coverage.
I'll give you a couple updates, couple free agent updates.
Love that.
Mostly because one, Josh Allen and Von Miller restructure contract, $32 million extra in cap for the Bills, if that matters to anybody.
Classic Bills. No, the Bills are screwed.
But this is a little more for Paul.
Oh,
little Marcus Davenport signs a 1-year deal with the Vikings. 1 year, $13 million, and then Jimmy Ward to the Texans.
All right. Who what's the name of the tight end the Vikings signed today?
You guys signed a tight end today?
Yeah, Oliver, Josh Oliver.
Oh, my boy, Josh Oliver.
Oh God, what are we?
Josh Oliver is like one of the best blocking tight ends.
Yeah,
in the NFL.
yeah. What are we doing? We're giving 3 years, $21 million to blocking.
I mean, Kirk needs it. I mean, look at that O-line.
No, we need someone to replace Johnny Munn.
And not for $7 million a year, we don't. That's ridiculous. I think Kwesi, the Vikings GM, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, a lot of questionable moves for me. He's supposedly a really smart guy, but and when you listen to him talk, sounds very intelligent. I want to believe that he knows what he's talking about. I do question a lot of the moves that we've made so far. Trading back and giving the Lions Jameson Williams, giving the Packers Christian Watson, when there are players that we need on the board. Kyle Hamilton was right there for the taking. He wound up being one of the highest grade safeties. I think he was the highest grade safety in the NFL. Again, that's just the greatest. There are a lot of different factors to best safety. But 7 years or $7 million for Josh Oliver? I don't even know. I barely know Josh Oliver.
You know what I find funny every year is you sign these defensive ends to 1-year deals that never work out. Yannick Ngakoue.
Oh, yeah.
1-year deal, gone.
Hey, Za'Darius isn't gone yet. He just wants to be gone. I don't blame him. It's
gone.
Hey, at least this time we didn't give up draft capital.
The Yannick Ngakoue situation was one of the most ridiculous.
Davenport 1 year gone.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's starting to look more and more like the Vikings are going to have to blow it up.
You guys lost Patrick Peterson to the Steelers.
Yep, Pat Pete's gone.
I mean, that's fine. He's
when
40 years old anyway.
If we go and sign Kirk, I love Kirk Cousins. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. But if we sign him to another 1-year extension, it's
all guaranteed again.
Like, what are we doing? No man's land is the worst place to be. All right, let's do a little bit of these rookie quarterbacks here. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. I feel like they're separating themselves from Will Levis a little bit at the moment. Would you agree with that, Ziggy?
Yes.
At the moment. The Panthers go up to 1. A lot of people are thinking it's going to be CJ Stroud there. And for a while, it looked like Bryce Young was on track to be the number 1 overall selection. There's been some rumors of Anthony Richardson. I personally think that that's a little bit more talk and just some steam coming up in front of the draft. But CJ Stroud's someone who, as we move closer and closer, I see more momentum picking up for him. And a lot of people turn to, if you're going to look at anything from CJ Stroud, is that Georgia game when Ryan Day really let him off the leash a little bit and let him use his legs. and he looked like a star quarterback in that situation. If you're sitting there at 1 now as the Panthers, someone who's definitely going to take a quarterback, is the pick C.J. Stroud for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a combination of factors. So certainly the fact that CJ Stroud, we know he can run, is a big deal. We saw him play really well in the biggest game of his career and do enough, frankly, to get his team to win. And it was exciting to see him be candid and honest about how he wishes he'd run more. And that's something he really wants to work on. He knew that was a problem. But I think the bigger factor, honestly, is that as much as he impressed, Bryce Young failed to impress by doing almost nothing at the combine. Right? He went to interviews and he weighed in, but he did no testing. CJ Stroud lit up the throwing section of the combine, incredibly accurate in every point of the field. His measurables were great too. Bryce Young missed out on a real opportunity by not doing anything. And if you're an NFL team and players don't want to do anything at the combine, it's hard to do anything but assume the worst, especially the guy who you're already having concerns about his measurables.
Yeah, the measurables are one thing, and we'll hit on that in just a second. He'll still have a chance at a pro day. I'm assuming he's going to throw at his pro day.
Yeah, but the problem with pro days, right? I mean, we've seen this of Zach Wilson. We've seen this time and time again. Like pro days, when the players have control and it's all scripted, you're getting a certain image of them. At the combine, when everyone's on equal footing and you don't know what's ahead of you next, that is a lot more valuable to teams, at least teams of intelligent drafting.
I mean, you still got to make the throws. Like Malik Willis lit up the Liberty Con. Do you remember that last year, his pro day?
Yeah.
But again, it didn't translate to him being taken higher in the draft. So
no, but my point, that's further proof that teams don't value it as much. You know, Bryce Young still has a non-trivial chance to go number 1, but
do the measurables concern you?
They have to a little bit. You know, every time there are outliers, right? But there are very few players who have been successful at that height and weight. The only player we've seen remotely successful at that height and weight is Kyler Murray. And he's been quite good, but Bryce Young's a very different kind of player. And I'm not sure how many teams want to recreate the Kyler Murray experience if they can avoid it.
Bryce Young, and for anyone who doesn't know, he came in at 5'10", 204 pounds at the combine. He'll be playing lighter than that. He'll probably be playing around 190 pounds. Something interesting.
Which is scary.
Yeah, it is scary. And something interesting, too, that I think might be contributing to the Bryce Young measurable slander is that not slander, but you know what I mean. The negative talk on him is look at all the shorter quarterbacks in the NFL this season and the narratives around them. Tua, multiple concussions. You have that image of him and with his fingers, twisted, and it was terrifying. Kyler Murray, torn ACL. He's going to be gone for the good amount of next season, possibly all of it. Who knows? You have Russell Wilson. He was injured, and he was injured at times, and the Broncos stunk. All the short quarterbacks in the league most of them had pretty bad narratives surrounding them. So it's not like Bryce Young's coming into a league right now where Kyler Murray's the MVP and the Broncos went on a deep run. Everything about the short quarterback is, oh, he's hurt. Their team stunk. He's also hurt. So I do think that is contributing a little bit to Bryce Young, and it's maybe unfair that you assume it, but at the moment, it's true. All those guys are hurt, and those guys are more susceptible to injury at the moment, probably because of their weight. I just think Bryce Young, when you watch the tape, he's a great football player, and he makes magical plays. He does things that a lot of the quarterbacks in this draft, and I might even say none of them, can match up to with him. Every time he had the ball in a late-game situation, at least most of the time, he was making a big play at the end and going on a long drive to win the game. He only lost, 3 games in college? One to Georgia, one to LSU on the road, and one to Tennessee on the road. I mean, this guy, I think he's a baller. Ziggy just smirks.
I mean,
Ziggy goes, but he's short.
Ziggy just hates him. That's all it is. That's all that face had to say is.
Here are the facts, right? It'd be one thing if there weren't obvious competition with Bryce Young, if you were the only guy who we've seen perform really well in college. But instead, you can get someone who's a much more prototypical quarterback. He's like 6'3", he's 215. We know he can run. He can run a lot better than Bryce Young, it seems. We know he's gotten on. We know he was incredibly accurate in college. Right. So you're seeing a guy, and let's not forget, right? As much as people like to say that the Ohio State offense carries guys, CJ Stroud was without some of his better receivers for much of the year.
Yeah, I like Stroud a lot. I think that it's fine. If Carolina takes him at number 1, I think it's fine. I just do think Bryce Young is also a very, very good quarterback.
But here's the thing, right? It's never been easier to get competency at quarterback in the NFL, right? You're seeing guys like Jimmy Garoppolo.
Competency, that's a key. That's a key word, though.
Yeah, it's never to get a guy who's average or even slightly above average is easy, but getting the real stars is hard. And I think this is why you're seeing so many people speculate, even if it's kind of silly, about Richardson going number 1. It's because whatever he is, he will not be average.
Can you possibly? Yeah, that is absolutely true. Can you possibly say that CJ Stroud has more star potential than Anthony Richardson? I know that
What does star potential
mean? Being a superstar in the league.
No.
Okay.
We know who has the most star potential in this draft. It's extremely clear it's Richardson.
I mean, he does. He impresses. What do you have? 2 combine records here. I'm looking at 40.5-inch vertical jump. That's insane.
I mean, here's what you're getting. It's not just combine warrior stuff, right? We saw him in the SEC doing this. You are getting Lamar Jackson, but with an arm that can throw 70 yards.
That one play he had, I can't remember if it was a 2-point conversion or something where he took the hit midair, spun out of it, and hit someone in the end zone. That was just if you haven't seen it, go look at it. Anthony Richardson makes some plays. Again, 10-foot 9-inch broad jump. That was a combine record for a quarterback. 4.43 40-yard dash. Dynamic, exciting, lots of potential. He just can't throw the ball. That's the only problem with Anthony Richardson. He just can't throw the football.
Pretty big deal at quarterback.
Yeah, which look. I would be very excited.
True,
no, it's
look. You can see games on Anthony Richardson tape. If you watch it, I went back and watched this, and this is the May.
Oh yeah, I forget. Yeah, come on. Here's where let's hear Ziggy why he turned on Richardson now.
Because you'll remember, I was saying that
exactly
Anthony Richardson looked to me just like the next Malik Willis.
Yeah,
that I thought he couldn't throw, but then I turned on the tape, and here are the problems of Anthony Richardson. I think. He sails a lot of passes because his footwork's not great. That's fixable. He's bad at navigating the pocket. Well, that's easily fixable. His post-snap processing needs some work. Well, that's fixable. But you look at his throws, and when Richardson is careful, when his pre-snap reads are very good, when the defense doesn't do too much to confuse him, when he can plant his feet, he can hit any tight throw in any tight window. And he did it pretty consistently at Florida. Now, you look at his accuracy numbers and say those are terrible. But this was an offense that had very, very few easy passes to make. Almost every single play he was dropping back, right? There weren't many NFL teams of their RPOs. There weren't a lot of those. There weren't a lot of short throws. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you count out the drops, he completed 65% of his passes in college.
That's just crazy. It's crazy.
No, I mean, people railed him for saying that his teammates weren't catching the ball at the combine. This was partly to blame, but it's true.
So wait, what's the jump in percentage?
65%.
And where is it currently?
From 53.
53. Jeez, okay, that's a big number.
Look,
I still doubt it a little. I still doubt his accuracy.
There are problems with Richardson. I will admit this, but if you look at his problems, they're the kinds of problems that historically are fixable. Issues like footwork and post-snap processing, those are fixable. What's not fixable are instincts. What's not fixable are athletic traits. What's not fixable are just consistently throwing passes where you shouldn't be throwing them. And if you watch his tape, his pre-snap reads are excellent. His instincts are good. We know his athleticism is great.
What a 180. I'm pretty sure last week you said something along the lines of, what you can't fix is accuracy. And this guy's got accuracy issues.
You can't. There's certain kinds of accuracy you can't fix.
It just took a little more
compared to Will Levis. Will Levis's accuracy, I think, is unfixable. He just likes to throw passes into double and triple coverage. Yeah. Richardson doesn't. In my ranking, I think CJ Stroud is clearly the number 1 quarterback. But I've got Richardson at 2 pretty far ahead of Bryce Young.
Really? Far ahead.
The upside with Richardson is tantalizing, and there are objective reasons to think he's fixable.
I'm pretty confident right now that CJ Stroud's going 1. And then I can see Richardson going above Bryce Young. I do think those 3 will be 1, 2, 3. I can't see Levis sneaking.
I don't think
Levis
now. Should make it in the first round.
He will.
But he shouldn't.
Yeah, fair. I see him going.
He's my 5th quarterback in the draft.
Who's 4?
Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker.
Isn't that
Okay.
what
I
they
think
said
it's
about
that.
Lamar? Didn't they say
It's
Lamar
that
shouldn't have
high.
gone in the first?
Well, I don't
I
know
mean,
how Will
he was
Levis is.
36
Lamar
in a
Jackson
row.
is.
Very different.
Lamar Jackson, you turn on at Louisville, and he was making ridiculous plays. Will Levis, I don't remember hearing much about him in Kentucky this year.
The problem with Will Levis is he doesn't understand what pass rush is, and he loves to throw balls into double and triple coverage. You can't fix that.
That's horrible. All right, let's do a couple quick hitters, then get out of here. We'll do Derek Carr, Geno Smith, and Jalen Ramsey. All 3 pretty big moves around the league. Derek Carr goes to the Saints. We'll give our opinions briefly on these. I think it's a good move for New Orleans. I think Carr becomes the best quarterback in that division. Who are the quarterbacks right now in the NFC South? Probably you're going to have Desmond Ridder in Atlanta. In Carolina, you're going to have a rookie. And then in Tampa Bay, I'm not sure what the Tampa Bay situation is right now. Trask.
Trask right now.
I can't imagine
I think they're
Trask will be the guy.
I've been seeing a lot of reports of them looking at Baker.
Yeah, they're going to pick someone up or draft someone. There's no way they go into next season with Kyle Trask.
Derek Carr.
No one
good
good,
with the
though.
Saints.
No one good. So Derek Carr now he goes from the 9th. He goes to the 9th ranked scoring defense in the NFL. The Raiders were 26th. They never really gave him much to work with from the defensive side of the ball. The offense, you can't really complain when you have Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and Darren Waller. I just think that you go to a team now in New Orleans, great structure, good coaching, best quarterback in the division. I think it's a good move for them to stay competitive. Do I think Derek Carr wins a Super Bowl? Probably not. But this team has a lot of talent, and you give him Chris Olave, Michael Thomas. Definitely the division favorite in my eyes at the
I think
moment.
Michael Thomas is getting cut.
Sorry, not Michael
Yeah.
Thomas. Yeah, sorry.
He's a big question mark.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
He
Chris
did
Olave.
come out and say he was very happy that Derek Carr was on the team. So, but I mean, if the team
What a
wants
fall
to
from
keep him-
grace for him.
Yeah.
I mean, look, with Derek Carr, there are 2 ways of looking at the deal. One of them is just like, is this a good contract for a quarterback? And the answer is sure, right? The Saints didn't give up a draft pick. They saved themselves about $15 million. They didn't outbid themselves in a crazy war with the Jets and the Panthers. So the contract is quite good. But you think about building a team, right? Which is what the Saints have to do as the team that has not had a lot of success. And Carr is certainly a bigger name than, say, Andy Dalton, and he's certainly a better player. Is he better enough that you can justify building a team around this guy?
Well, that's the problem I've had all
What's the
offseason.
upside?
That's the problem that I've had all offseason with these guys on the Market. Daniel Jones wasn't really on the market, but Daniel Jones, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think any of these guys can win a Super Bowl. I don't see any of them winning a Super Bowl, but at some point you do have to say we can't just bend over and die because we don't have Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, or Josh Allen.
No, but if you're a team like, say, the Jets, I think you can talk yourself into getting a guy like this, right? You know you have an excellent defense. You know you've got a lot of offensive weapons. You know,
New
the
Orleans
division
does have good. I feel like New Orleans has a good defense and some really good weapons on offense as well.
Who on offense besides Alvin Kamara?
Olave.
Yeah, Olave's good, but they don't have a second or third. Look,
Well, go get him someone.
They re-signed.
Oh. they don't have the money to get someone. All I will say is this.
They have a really good tight end, Ziggy. Who was it? Who they just re-signed?
What?
Yeah,
Johnson?
no,
Johnson?
No.
Tip Hill?
No. They have a really good tight end. He's like more of a wide receiver. But, they just
No,
re-signed-
you're thinking of Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, Juwan Johnson. He's a tight end.
okay.
He's a tight end.
Really good to stretch. But
What do you mean? He was scoring touchdowns left and right for them last year.
I mean, you have one catch for 4 yards and a touchdown.
Touchdown's a touchdown, right? Touchdown wins games.
All right. Well, what was your
Look,
thoughts? Zig?
Here's what I'll say this. We have seen what Derek Carr looks like on a team with a great running back, with a good wide receiver 1 and a strong tight end with no other offensive support and a mediocre to bad defense. It's called the Raiders last year.
But the
We've
Saints
already
have a
seen
much,
this.
much better defense than the Raiders.
Yeah, but you also got to take into coaching.
I know, again, and I don't like McDaniels.
Yeah,
I think he's a terrible head coach.
Yeah, but
if
what
you went
is
back-
is
if
Dennis
you went-
Allen that much better?
Well, Gruden was at the top.
Look,
Well, first of all, with Gruden, he was.
I don't know how much
Way
worse it
better.
gets than Josh McDaniels. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't understand the argument.
But I look at Derek Carr as well, and I say, where does this guy rank among NFC quarterbacks right now? Everyone would say Jalen Hurts is above him, but then Stafford's probably going to be gone from the Rams, and he's banged up. Geno, maybe. Kirk, I would say yes, but a lot of people wouldn't. Daniel Jones, Kyler's hurt. Rodgers is going to be a Jet soon. Derek Carr, is he a top 5 quarterback in the NFC? Maybe.
I mean, here's the upside you're hoping of the Saints, right? You're in a horrendous division where you can be nearly certain that none of your rivals will be any good next year unless the Falcons magically get Lamar Jackson, which it doesn't seem like they want to. So Derek Carr is going to be better than probably the other 3 quarterbacks in the division combined.
Mm-hmm.
You say, look, we're winning the division, so we're going to the playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. Right, they're going to try and do exactly what they did, where they put together a bunch of mediocre seasons, and then Drew Brees went really hot one year and won him a Super Bowl.
Well. I mean, yeah, he was hot.
No, Drew Brees is much better than Derek Carr, but I'm saying that's the vibe they're going for here.
Okay.
And I don't like that method of building a team. I'd much rather build a reliable contender that's going to be good for a fair number of years.
I think they're expecting to be good for 2 or 3 years with Derek Carr now.
But they've been expecting that for a long time with every quarterback they've.
But how much bigger is the jump? Do you think there's a big jump from Winston or Andy Dalton or Teddy Bridgewater, who is in for a little bit, to Derek Carr?
Not the kind of jump that gives you a playoff run. I don't think so.
But they should win the division. We agree on that.
If they don't win the division,
yeah, that's a huge fail. So if you're the Saints though, and you look at the landscape of the NFC South, signing Derek Carr, you think we're probably going to win this division now for 1 or 2, maybe 3 years with him at the moment, with the way it looks. So I don't blame him for going after him when, in all likelihood, they should have a few playoff seasons. And when you have a top 5 quarterback in the NFC, which maybe they do have, you never know.
But look, we've seen this.
I get what you're saying. I totally get it, and I feel very similarly. I'm just arguing from the Saints' perspective.
Yeah, that's fine. But the Saints' perspective is ridiculous. They've consistently had talent and salary cap problems. They've had it for years, and every single year, what do?
So what would
you
do?
Salary cap? What would I do?
If you were
I'd accept the fact that we need to rebuild.
Okay.
You are not getting yourself out of this by signing another class of free agents and kicking the salary cap problems 1 or 2 years down the line.
I think that's where I normally come down on too. I'd rather just swing for the fences on a rookie or something like that than pay these guys for mediocrity.
Hey, why don't they have a first-round pick this year? Because they did exactly this. Like, we're going to go 1 more year, and then we're finally going to rebuild. It's like, yeah.
Who's their head coach? I don't even.
Dennis Allen.
Yeah.
Dennis Allen.
No, Dennis Allen is not an exciting head coach.
Yeah, and that's why I was
Geno Smith. Finally, something to get Ziggy a little excited by.
Face. Look at it. Look at it just brighten up.
Geno, 3 years, $105 million deal. He was the highest rated. 105, right? 3 years, 105.
No, I thought it was 75.
No, it's 105.
I'm pretty sure it's 105.
Yeah.
Could that change everything? Maybe.
Ziggy's face went from smiling to not smiling.
Geno, he was Seattle's highest rated offensive player last season. They had the 25th ranked defense in the league. He wasn't really the problem. He was one of the bright spots on the team.
Okay, I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's 3 years, $75 million.
Did it change?
I
thought he was in the $100 million.
Are you sure?
This is what all the websites are saying. It's what the Seahawks announced.
Really?
Well, then I guess let me restate that then. Seahawks signed Geno Smith, 3 years, $75 million. Highest rated player by the Seahawks last season, 25th ranked defense. He was not the problem. I don't mind this move because there are a lot of questions in the draft this year. Seattle, where are they picking at? They're in the top 10. Right now. I'm pretty sure they have a top 10 pick in the draft. Aren't they 5th?
Yeah, they're 6.
They're 6
from
okay.
the Broncos.
From Denver. Yeah, bring back Geno, and defensive tackle's a big need for this team. I think you can hope that Jalen Carter falls or Tyree Wilson's another need, edge rusher, one of those 2 guys. If they fall to you, you got a quarterback that you like. I think you shore up both of the lines, and you could be looking at teams that could definitely compete in the NFC West again.
The thing that I love about this is, first of all, I think that the Seahawks need to get a quarterback in this draft.
Yeah, no, they definitely need a quarterback. Would you take one with the 6th pick?
I might even consider trading up.
Okay.
Well, this Seahawks team is traditionally, they're quite good. It's very unlikely they're going to get a pick this high again. The thing that I love about the Geno Smith deal, right? You're talking 3 years, $75 million, unless he hits at a crazy number of incentives. That's the only way it escalates up to that $105 million number, right? He needs to repeat every single stat he had this year or better in order to hit
a
it.
career season.
Yeah, we're talking 4,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, 70% completion percentage, 100% or 100 passer rating, 80% playoff time, and 10 game wins plus a playoff win. That's what he has to do to get that money. It's there honestly just as charity for him, right? To make him feel a little bit better. But like the way the Seahawks contract works, you're getting a quality quarterback on a very reasonable deal. They can walk away after 1 year. They can walk away after 2 years. They can let him play out all of it. And they can just use the fact that they got miraculously a number 6 pick from the Broncos, trade up to say number 3, which shouldn't be too expensive, right? The Cardinals are looking for a defensive player anyway. And you ride it out. Take Richardson, take Levis, take whoever you like.
A lot of people are talking about Richardson in Seattle as well, which
this is the first and only deal so far of the offseason that I've looked at where I think that for the team, I mean, this is cheaper than if they franchise tagged him twice, which is what people thought they'd have to do. It's cheaper even if they gave him a transition tag. Like, it's just a super good deal for the Seahawks. It gives them a lot of flexibility. It's not like they're screwing over Geno Smith here.
Well, what I like about the way you're describing this right now for everyone listening and saying that you could get out after 1 year, you could get out after 2, or you could play it out for all 3, is that doesn't take away that ability now to go and get the next guy, the guy who you could hope can turn into one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And that's where we've been having this discussion the past 15 minutes or so. It's, can Derek Carr, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, can they win? We're not sure about that. But this deal allows you to go after the guy who you think can probably win down the road and also still compete with Geno, and again, I'll take it back to division. Probably not going to have Matthew Stafford with the Rams. Kyler Murray's hurt. The situation in San Francisco is up in the air. There's all these quarterback situations and drama in the NFC West. Seattle doesn't have that problem anymore. In fact, it's a luxury for them if they go and get another quarterback with their first round pick. So I like it as well.
We're talking a $27 million guaranteed contract. And because they have such a nice relationship with Geno Smith, he's already publicly said he's okay if they draft a guy behind him and he'll do whatever he can to help out the team. Because this is a team, mind you, that took care of Geno Smith when everyone thought he was completely finished in the league and is now rewarding him with a decent contract. Not great. I mean, it's $27 million. But also, Geno Smith has been on a veteran minimum salary for like 5 seasons.
He earned it this year, too.
He certainly did. It's not that this is charity from the Seahawks, but this is just a remarkable convergence of circumstances. And I love to see teams in those circumstances, instead of handing Geno Smith a Daniel Jones type deal, be very fiscally responsible.
The Giants are, $40 million right a year for Daniel Jones?
I give the Daniel Jones deal a D-.
It's hard to just walk away from Jones after the season. I don't even think it is. He had a good season, but it's not like he didn't light the world on fire. He had 15 touchdowns. Everyone's acting like Daniel Jones came out and had a Patrick Mahomes.
3,200 yards at 15.
Here's what I'll say. I understand giving him a deal because he did have a good season, especially from his standards of the past, which were not very high. But Brian Dable came in, and there was definitely an effect. And that offense around him, outside of Saquon Barkley, was not very good. So if you can go and give him some weapons, give him another chance, that's great. I just don't really like attaching a $40 million salary tag on top of that, or price tag on top of that.
It's really more than $40 million.
It's a monster
$41 million for the first 2 years, which is one that really matters if he busts. So it's front loaded, and it's significantly more. I believe it's 15 or $16 million more than tagging him twice. So you sit down and ask yourselves, well, why didn't the Giants just do the cheaper option that gives them more flexibility? And the answer is Saquon Barkley, right? They needed that franchise tag for Saquon because everyone knows you can't pay running backs $13 million a year. But it's It feels like the Giants were so scared of mediocrity at quarterback, they talked themselves into paying the kind of money that Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson and Kyler Murray are getting. Like there's no upside for the Giants in this deal. And the downside is you're walking 2 years of $41 million a year at Daniel Jones, right? That'll come out to more than $1 million a touchdown if he repeats this season.
He dominated the Vikings, but everyone dominated the Vikings last year. If you take away the Vikings games, go and look at Daniel Jones' stats, yards, touchdowns, everything. He was okay. He was better than he's been in the past. That's what you got with Daniel Jones last year. You got a better version of himself, which, look, hopefully Brian Dable can have him take the next step forward if they can get him some more guys on the outside. And then it's great. Then it's awesome. I wouldn't have done it.
But even if he does meet that, there's no upside. The upside is you now, after 2 years of paying him $41 million, have to sign to a big new deal.
Well, the upside is if he turns into one of the better quarterbacks in the league, then that's awesome.
Yeah, but you could have if you were double tagging him, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I just want to see one season before you pay someone $40 million a year. So he's getting like $82 million fully guaranteed from this. Before you get that, I'd like to see my quarterback throw for over 20 touchdowns and fewer than 12 interceptions. I just want those two criteria met. Daniel Jones, he's gone over 20 touchdowns once. He threw for 24 and ran for 2 in his rookie year, but he had 23 turnovers.
Yeah.
And other than that, he's had 11 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns, and 15 touchdowns.
People will get on you for the rushing stats too now.
In that 2020 when he had 11 passing touchdowns, you know how many running touchdowns he had?
How many?
1. In 2021, he had 10
progress. He's making
touchdowns.
progress. He's making
You
progress.
know how many rushing touchdowns he had? 2. In 2022, much better year. He passed for 15 and he ran for 7. But we're not talking about Josh Allen or Lamar.
No, we're not. And that's now he's getting money that's getting close to that level.
He's going to get more money next year than Josh
Allen. More than Josh. So we'll see what happens there. I think this is a good spot for us to wrap up here. There's still going to be a lot to talk about. Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Jets soon, I believe.
There's so much to talk about.
There's a ton to talk about.
Funny
we didn't even hit half
after all this.
Yeah, we didn't even hit half of the news that broke today. So hopefully later this week we'll be back with some more breakdowns of exactly what's going on. It's a crazy time of the year for the NFL.
3 days of craziness.
Yeah,
right?
and then March Madness right around the corner.
Hold on.
Huh?
Confirmation: Aaron Rodgers is on a jet.
Okay.
He has boarded a plane, folks.
Where's he going? To the dark room again?
Yeah,
probably.
The darkness retreat. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Again, we can use all of them that we can get at the moment. Join the March Madness bracket. We're hoping to get over 100 entrants this year. Last year, we were about 50 to 60. Had a lot of fun. Our friend Tom Caffrey won the shirt. We'll hopefully get a post of him in his Paul Farrington Show t-shirt. Yeah, this year, long sleeve shirt for the winner. I think we upgrade our game a little bit. Maybe a bucket hat next year. I don't know.
I just want the picture of Tom Caffrey.
It'll come. So again, please like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for listening. Paul Farrington, Robert Ziggy Ziegler, Zack Blomquist will be with you later this week. See you.